The noise from the engine was almost deafening, as a Vietnamese woman was running as fast as she could. Her name was Ngọc Mỹ. Words that her husband had spoken echoed in her mind. Bring only what you can carry. Her husband was a first lieutenant in the South Vietnamese Air Force, flying on evacuation missions during the Vietnam War. He had seen with his very own eyes the Northern invading, and if he were captured, he could be killed. He heard of rumors of pilots stealing planes to escape, but thus far were just rumors. He thought about his family. He had to do something. So he gathered his family. I will commandeer a plane. Wait for my signal. Meet me at the abandoned airstrip. We are escaping the country. Bring only what you can carry. Friends, what would you carry if you were leaving your home country? Ngọc Mỹ had to decide what to bring and what to leave behind. She was leaving everything she had ever known. Her home, her childhood friends, and her beloved Charlie, her German Shepherd. Well, that call came, and as Ngọc Mỹ was running, she looked down at only what she could carry. Clutched close to her heart in her left arm was her 4-month-old baby boy. In her right hand, tiny little fingers gripped tight that belonged to her 2-year-old daughter. Mommy, I'm so scared. Ngọc Mỹ, she was terrified too, but she had to be brave. It's okay, honey, we almost to the plane. As Ngọc Mỹ was running towards the back of the plane, she hoisted her daughter onto the plane. But in the mass pandemonium of 50 frantic family members rushing that plane, her daughter took a heavy fall. She lay there, motionless, face covered in blood. At the sight of that, Ngọc Mỹ, she collapsed, dropping the baby to the ground. Family members rushed out to take them onto the plane. But her husband, he had no idea what was going on because he was in the cockpit of the plane. In fact, he had not even told crew members his plan. He got on that intercom. This plane is escaping Vietnam and will never return. If you do not want to escape, get off the plane now. One of the crew members unbuckled, jumped off the plane, and ran as fast as he could. Another crew member unbuckled, rebuckled, and sat there in shock. As First Lieutenant Kim was taxiing down that runway, all of a sudden, a Jeep pulls in with a grenade launcher pointed right at his cockpit. First Lieutenant Kim, he'd gone way too far to give up now. He took off, and he never looked back. As that plane crossed over the ocean, Ngọc Mỹ, she regained consciousness. Mấy tụi con có đau ở đâu? Where are my babies? They were safe in relatives' arms. As she gathered her children and wiped the blood off her daughter's face, I often wonder, did she bring enough clothes, enough diapers? Did those babies cry? Did she? She was leaving everything she had ever known. Her name, Ngọc Mỹ, actually means beautiful America. Would she reach the land she's always dreamed of, or would she die trying? She pondered these things in her heart as she held her babies tight. Her husband got on the intercom hours later. We have crossed international waters. A loud cheer erupted because they were finally free. Months later, they landed in America, where they were landed in beautiful America. When they stepped foot on American soil, they had nothing but the clothes on their backs, and they brought only what they could carry, their baby boy and their little girl. But Ngọc Mỹ, she carried 2 other things that no one else could see. The first is that she carried hope in her heart to live this beautiful life in America. And the second, months later, was in her womb. That baby, that little baby, was me. And those heroes, those were my parents. They come over with no food, no home, no money. What now? There were these beautiful Americans who carried compassion and generosity, who housed them for an indefinite amount of time. Friends, think about it. Would you house people who didn't speak your language, who didn't look like you, who cooked foods that smelled differently, dirty diapers and crying babies? Most of us would not. But that is what carrying compassion and generosity looks like. They even drove my dad to interviews so that he could get a hand up in life. My dad, he couldn't read very well or write very well. Could you imagine trying to fill out a job application and doing an interview? But my dad, he refused to carry negativity or defeat. Instead, he carried hope and hard work. Hope to one day to become an airline pilot, and hard work to get there. And then it happened. He got a job. He started down low. He was sweeping floors and cleaning toilets. But he was so determined. He kept trying and he kept interviewing. Because of his experience in the Air Force, he landed a job with an American Airlines company, and that was his dream come true. That is what carrying hope and hard work looks like. Then there was my mom. She had a job in a car factory. She was doing hard labor. She would jump into a car, she'd put a ribbon, she would jump out, and she would repeat that hours on end. On top of it, there were people that would go right in front of her face, and they would make fun of her thick accent. They would say things like, "Go back to your own country. You're stealing our jobs." I think that if they had known everything she had sacrificed to come here, to raise her 3 children, to find a better life, they wouldn't have been so negative. But not me. She refused to carry their negativity and refused to carry defeat. She carried hope and hard work. Hope to one day to be able to afford a house, and hope to put her 3 children through higher education. She worked really hard. In a matter of 3 years, she was able to afford a home. And many, many years of working, she put all 3 of us kids through higher education. This is what carrying hope and hard work can do. Then there was me. I was in the 1st grade, and let's call this kid Evan. "Bekah, are you copying off of Evan's paper?" "No, Mrs. Moran, I'm not." In fact, I was. I felt really stupid because I was in the lowest reading level, and my parents couldn't help me because they couldn't really read either. Plus, Evan let me copy off his paper. He was fine. He was 1st grade eye candy, blonde hair, blue eyes. What's there not to love? I followed him around like a lost puppy dog. We even ate lunch every day together, but I was so embarrassed because we were on this free lunch voucher because we were poor. Well, as time went on and we were in the 6th grade, I remember looking around. Everybody had braces. If I could get braces, I would be able to fit in. But I remember looking back when I was little, my mom, she would put me in a headlock. She would scrub my teeth like she was scrubbing the toilet. And she'd say, "Bekah, you cannot get any cavities. We cannot afford to see the dentist." Despite knowing this, I begged my mom to take me to the dentist. And at age 11, she finally did. When she took me to the dentist, he looked inside my mouth and said, "You have a beautiful smile. You don't need braces." I was crushed. But in that moment of that dentist telling me no, God put in my heart a yes, that he wanted me to be a dentist to help people with their smiles. As 6th grade continued, there was something big happening at the end of the year. It was called the 6th grade farewell dance. I spent 1 whole hour crafting my cauliflower bangs to perfection because I wanted to be pretty for Kevin. When I saw him, I went up. "Hi, have you asked anyone to the dance?" He looked down at me. "I would never take you to the dance. You're Vietnamese." I ran off, crying. And you know what I carried that day? I carried negativity and defeat. The negative words that Evan had spoke to me, negative words that I spoke to myself, I felt so defeated. I kept repeating over and over, "You're stupid, you're poor, and you're ugly. You're stupid, you're poor, and you're ugly. Why would anyone ever ask you to the dance?" I hated who I was, and I loathed being Vietnamese. My dad saw how sad and depressed I was. He said, "Bekah, you must not carry negativity and defeat, but you must carry hopes and hard work to live out your dreams. You are not stupid. Remember, God has purpose for you to be a dentist. You must work hard. You are smart. And we are not always going to be poor. One day, you are going to be a dentist, and you are going to be rich in generosity. I hope that you become like the beautiful Americans, and you carry compassion and generosity to help other people get a hand up in life, like we were showing. And you're not ugly. You're beautiful because you're my daughter, and especially because you're Vietnamese. You'll see." I thought about what my dad said. I don't want to carry negativity and defeat because it led me to nowhere. I wanted to carry hope and hard work to live out my dreams. With my dad's encouragement, I went from this little girl who was stupid in the lowest reading class. I studied really hard. I worked my tail off. I got a full academic scholarship to a major university, and I even skipped a year of college and became a dentist. And I'm no longer poor because I'm a dentist. I'm rich in generosity. I've gone over to developing countries, to orphanages, to help kids who don't have access to care. We also do free dental work for veterans who qualify and free dental community day. I carry compassion and generosity. I believe in giving people a hand up in life. And I'm not ugly. I know I'm not ugly because for the last 24 years of marriage, I have a husband who tells me that he loves me and that I'm beautiful, especially because I'm Vietnamese. By the way, he has blonde hair, blue eyes, much better looking than Evan. Friends, what do you carry? Are you carrying negativity and defeat? Negative words that you speak to yourself, or negative words that other people say to you that give you this heavy weight that gets you nowhere in life? Or are you willing to carry hope and hard work? Hope to live out your dreams. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but it's going to be worth it. And once you reach your dreams, are you willing to carry compassion and generosity? Because if you do, you'll give other people a hand up in life, and it'll make a profound impact, not on you, but 10 times the impact on future generations to come. 2 people who came over to America carrying nothing but hope and hard work impacted 15 family members, kids and grandkids, to live a beautiful life in America. What do you carry?